Well, my name is Brian Wilson, and I represent Georgia State in Chile. I'd like to tell you first something about the country. Chile is the most open and free economy market and most modern economy in Latin America. Population, to give you an idea, we are 16.6 million inhabitants, and we have a growth economy. The Chilean economy has been growing every year at around 5%, and that's what we expect to have in growth in the next 3 years. Chile's GDP is around $162 billion, but the interesting issue for the U.S. and particularly for Georgia is that in the 1st of January of the year 2004, the free trade agreement between Chile and the U.S. started working in place. And since that date, trade between Chile and the U.S. has grown 180%, which is a tremendous and successful figure. The U.S. used to have 14% of the Chilean imports and now has grown to nearly 18%. Now, Chile has free trade agreements with practically all the 85% of the world's GDP. In other words, apart from the US, we have free trade agreements with the European Union, with China, with Japan, with Korea, with India. You name it, we have it. And this means that the average import into the country is paying only 2% duties. US products, approximately 90% of them pay zero duties into Chile. So that's a great opportunity for U.S. products into our country. Secondly, the Chilean peso, which is our currency, has strengthened about 20 to 25% in the last 18 months. And this means that U.S. products are much cheaper in our market, which is a very price-driven and a very competitive market. Now, where are the growth sectors for Georgia companies in Chile? Chile is one of our most important industries is the mining industry. And the mining industry is expected to invest $5 billion per year in the next 5 years. And out of that figure, $500 million are related to equipment. And that's an area where Georgia companies can supply equipment to the mining industry. And this coming April, there's a Georgia mission going down to Chile. 3 or 4 companies that is attending Expo Min, which is the largest, one of the largest mining trade shows in the world. And so that's a way that Georgia companies are covering the mining aspect. A second industry that has experienced a tremendous growth in Chile is telecommunications. We expect telecommunications to grow around 10% during 2008. So that's another growth industry to be watched by Georgia companies. Building is growing at a 7.5% clip we estimate for this year 2008. So again, there's opportunity for heavy machinery and equipment for the building and construction industry. Financial services is another interesting area that Chile expects that will experience a growth of around 7% this year. Now, regarding the relationship between Georgia and Chile. Georgia exports about something around $140 million to the Chilean economy. And it's mainly, I would say, machinery, food processing machinery, industrial machinery, and also chemicals in general, computers and telecommunication equipment. A lot of cell phones are sold into Chile from Georgia. And paper, some specialized papers. And on the other side, Chile exports into Georgia about $360 million. And that's basically copper, which is our main export. And secondly, we export forestry products through Georgia. And salmon, and fruit. All the fruit that you eat in winter here comes from Chile. And salmon mainly comes from Chile. Chile is now the world's leading exporter of salmon in the world. And you also have the Chilean wines, which you must have tried recently. I would say, to tell you about this week we have been in Georgia, we've seen a lot of interest of Georgia companies that want to sell into our country. We met this week with approximately, I think it was 16 or 17 Georgia companies that are very interested in selling their products into Chile. And we got very qualified and good quality companies that want to sell in our country. So there's a lot of interest by Georgia companies to penetrate the Chilean market. Georgia is fairly unknown in Chile. If you ask a Chilean what will be their typical destination if a Chilean company wants to set up a facility or headquarters or a subsidiary in the States, they would primarily think about maybe Miami first, or New York, or California. We're trying to reverse that, and we are doing a job of explaining to Chilean companies that a real good destination is the Southeast, and that Georgia is the center of this Southeast. And that's part of our job. We have, let's say, 3 assignments from the Georgia Department of Economic Development. The first one is trade, to increase the trade of Georgia companies into Chile. The second one is FDI, foreign direct investment. In other words, to try to bring Chilean companies to set up headquarters in Georgia. And the third one is to assist in the tourism area to bring Chilean tourists into Georgia. Regarding Chilean companies operating in Georgia State, we already have 6 Chilean companies, and the 6 of them are one of the largest multinational companies that we have in Chile. 3 of them are related to forestry products, which is a huge industry in Chile. One of them is related to nitrate fertilizers, which again, they are the largest exporter of that product in the world. The other one is a chemical-related industry, which is located in Savannah. And the 6th company is a company that exports all kinds of foods, salmon, wines, and pork and poultry. So that gives you an idea that there's already an interesting setup of Chilean companies already operating here in Georgia.